Great to have with us as our halftime guest, the commissioner of the GCAA, Dave Elder. Dave Elder, how you doing?
We're filming this on a Monday, and it's been Monday, 3 Zoom calls, a NJCAA football poll call and poll voting, player of the week. I think I probably covered most of it, but it's a good problem to have. Let's put it that way.
It's another Monday, I assume.
And it's always a good day in athletics, even if it's a problem.
Well, a lot of folks don't know that you wear multiple hats, even though you gave away some of your hats in years gone by, like the baseball chair and et cetera. You still have got a multiplicity of jobs beyond commissioner. So what are some of those jobs? I know you work with the football polls. What else?
Well, commissioner, men's region director, football committee member. This is trouble. Beach volleyball. I'm picking up where James Frey left off as a GCA member on beach volleyball. So no, I had three last year: skeet shooting, golf, and tennis, and I've been on those. And I just felt like I needed to change something different. I had not served on the football committee. Rob Nielsen at Snow had to roll off as he was taking over as NJCA senior men's administrator. I'll get it out here in a minute. And so I felt it was good for me to hop in there to try to give some support to the independent teams in football, because, Texas is a league, Kansas is a league, Mississippi is a league. And then you've got the four of us, Snow, Lackawanna, GMC, a couple others that we really just have to sort of try to fight to get some recognition there, So doing those things, and enough to keep me busy. Let's put it that way.
Now, you mentioned the gentleman rolling off of one of the committees. Is an appointment to a committee or as a chair, is it for an allotted time frame, or do you kind of take it on a year-to-year type basis?
No, as region directors, we're able to put in what we'd like to serve on. Now, of course, everybody would love to serve on the baseball committee or the basketball committee, those committees, which are, highly visible committees. But, I've always taken it, I did serve as baseball chair, national baseball chair for 7 years, and I rolled off of it. And I had somebody come up to me at an annual meeting and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Why are you giving up baseball chair?" I said, "Because I've served for 7 years. It's not something that you're entitled to. Our jobs, because we're our volunteers, are to provide service." And that's the way I looked at it, just like our public service people across the country. If they would probably do that, and I'm not going into politics here, I think we would all be a better place if people would realize what their role is to actually serve, not be served.
Let me put in a amen to term limiting, and I'll stop there. All right, let's talk about football. The fact that not only did you have a GMC this year, but you had a GCAA conference with Andrew College and Central Georgia Tech. How did that go?
It went well. I mean, Georgia, both of those schools, Andrew and Central Georgia Tech, first year, got their feet wet. They played a lot of prep schools, and now we're having some conversations. All right, guys, if you want to be looked at, people will look at this, like the poll committee and everybody else. You were 9-1, Central Georgia Tech, but you've got to start playing NJCAA schools. And the national office is looking at something. They're having discussions about not counting those non-NJCAA schools when it comes to stats for All-American, those type things, and polls and those things. So it gives more credibility from that standpoint, I understand, but there's also limitations sometimes, because not everybody, for example, like us in Georgia, we don't have the luxury of having 8 football teams, unlike, say, a Mississippi or a Kansas or a Texas like that, where they don't have to travel as much. So, those type things come into play.
The two teams that were new, well, in essence, helped create the conference, are they back next year? And is there the possibility of adding more?
They are back. I don't foresee us adding any more. I think what we'll see is the coaches are discussing now. This is okay. We might just end up playing each other on a home and home. For example, this year Georgia Military had Uriah Prep and Clayton State. What would benefit Georgia Military, that aspect, is to drop 2, and even if it's just playing Clayton State and Andrew again, that looks better on paper from that aspect. So we'll see how that goes. I think they'll keep playing, and I think give them a little bit. This is just getting your feet wet kind of year for those two. But I think moving forward, I got a feeling both of them will look at trying to play a little more difficult schedule and see how it doesn't benefit them to play a prep team and win 45-0. It doesn't. If you're going to do that, you might as well stay a club team. So I think it'll benefit them to maybe try to play some others, and they might have to travel a little bit more from that aspect.
Obviously, I did not go to Central Georgia Tech or Andrew College, but what are their facilities like? Their home stadiums?
Central Georgia Tech has a nice turf field. Andrew's playing on a high school field, so they don't have the luxury of GMC from that standpoint. Davenport Stadium has been there for a long time, but they do. Andrew will probably have to go back and look because they did have an old football field back on the middle of their campus, and I don't know how they utilize that now. And so I don't know if that'll change for them moving forward or not. We'll just have to see.
All right, basketball-wise, I mean, we are into basketball season, so we got to talk a little round ball. Is it in postseason as it has been where the highest remaining seed after the quarterfinals host both men and women?
That is correct. So we'll have that play-in game on that Tuesday, and I think that's the end of February, 1st of March. We'll have that play-in game, and then the highest remaining seed will host the semis on both sides.
How's the basketball season looking? I know it's very early in the year, or it could be a little later when this is re-aired, but how is the basketball season looking?
Well, right now we're sitting at week 3, just getting going there. A lot of teams are doing some of that non-conference travel. Some of our teams going down to Florida, over in Alabama playing, and reciprocating there. South Georgia State has jumped off to a 4-win and no losses at this point. So we'll see where we are down the road. But once we come back in the 1st of January, everybody will be jumping into conference play for January and February.
I hear just these little whispers of maybe some regions joining other regions due to maybe a lack of the number of schools. I mean, is there any conversation of Region 17? Is it 17?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. My brain at this age, is there any conversation of it absorbing another or vice versa?
Well, what we've got is, we have 11 teams right now, and then 6 of those schools are USG schools, University System of Georgia. And we have no true junior colleges anymore. Okay. They're all 4-year schools. And so really the talk's been going on for probably about 15 years now. I think it's starting to gain a little headway that these schools really need to look at moving up to 4-year status athletically, which would be NAIA. If we lose those 6, then we're down to 5 schools. Andrew's going, they're talking the same thing. So we're looking at our 4 tech schools in Oxford. If that did come to fruition, I can't see where Region 17 would stand as a standalone conference with 5 schools. You look way back in the crystal ball, back into the 70s when Alabama and Georgia were part of the same conference, and then schools grew at that point, and we made 2 separate conferences at that point. Would Georgia fit better going into Region 10, which is the Carolinas and Virginia? I don't think so, because you go from South Carolina all the way up to West Virginia. And if Georgia came into that would be much further travel. You look at the schools that would remain, and all this is theoretical right now, okay? Mm-hmm. If all those schools that would remain would be west of I-75. So except for, and don't know how Georgia Military would fall, because Georgia Military is sort of a hybrid in the sense. So don't know how those others would fall. It would make sense because look at it this way. Americus is only an hour from the Alabama border. Central Georgia Tech is basically a little bit more, So I think those would probably end up going that route, end up being absorbed there. And the national office has talked about preliminary talks about looking at region realignments and those type things. But I also know that has been put on the shelf for like a couple of years. So I don't expect that to happen for a couple of years. Now, even if the USG said they wanted those 4 schools to go ahead and try to move up to the 4-year level, which would be NAI, and they made that jump, then it might be something that the remaining, they might just go ahead and say, hey, y'all need to go ahead and move in on this. So there's a lot of pieces that would have to come together for all this. And like I said, this talk's been going on for 15 years. 15 years from now, if it took another 15 years, I can tell you this, I won't be commissioner of the conference at that point. Somebody else will be. And, 5 years down the road, I don't expect, good Lord willing, that I'll still be doing what I'm doing. I'd like to look forward to enjoying some retirement time. Got 1 grandchild and another one on the way in February. And they've got raising kids and grandchildren backwards, because it sure is a whole lot more fun dealing with grandchildren than it is children, because grandchildren, you can give them back. Children, you can't. You're stuck with them.
Well, now you can't leave the conference, because actually I'm an advocate for changing it from the GCAA to the DAVE.
Well, look, hey, if that were to happen, and like I said, all these are hypotheticals, and I generally do not like to get into hypotheticals, what ifs, because that's where worry comes in with people. People worry about things and they never materialize, and there's a lot of unnecessary angst amongst people in that. As my late father used to tell me, and I think I did this as a young tyke, that I used to worry about things and that I couldn't control, and things might never come to fruition. And so worry about things that you can control, and then God will take care of everything. I firmly believe that. And if that happens, he'll take care of those schools. And then, let's be honest, they'll have to make some hard choices at that point of what they decide to do. Do they want to decide to continue playing? As all our tech schools really just have a couple of teams, So, and our technical school they're workforce driven, which I understand that. That's their mission. I've always been an advocate that athletics can fit in with that workforce-driven mission, and we've had a number of our schools that have proved that. John Watford and South Georgia Tech has been a staunch advocate for us, and I think it's worked for them. It's brought kids onto that campus in Americus, and then they've moved on to all places across the country. And so, I think things can work. People just have to be open-minded about a lot of stuff.
Dave Elder, we're squeezing you into halftime. It's 15 minutes, and we've taken about 13. So we'll wrap up the conversation. I know we'll talk again, and I know we'll see you in either late February, early March, somewhere in the state of Georgia.
We will. And, hey, let's not – softball and baseball, they'll come around, and those seasons will get going in January, and then they'll be playing in May there. So we'll talk about those at a later date.
Dave Elder, Commissioner of the GCAA, thanks for being our halftime guest.
Robert, appreciate you as always, buddy. Thank you.